Well, good evening, beautiful people, and welcome to another segment of Success in Motion, where we discuss topics that will inspire, empower, and promote to catapult you to the next level in your life. You all, I am so excited that you have decided to join us this evening. I know it's been a while. I had a couple of deaths in the family, and so I kind of took a break because they were very, very near and dear to my heart and my life, and I needed to get realigned. So, but I thank each and every one of you who who has joined us this evening, and for those of you who are watching via recording on YouTube and any other social media platform, I thank you, thank you, thank you, and again, I welcome you. So, hey, I am naturally excited to get everything started. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about winning in the midst of change and how to keep going forward. So as you all know, it's success in motion. We are success in motion. And that means that we're successful, whether it's in a small thing or a humongous thing. Just always being success and keep on moving forward. Again, we know that there are moments and times where we need to take a break, kind of either press stop or press pause, and maybe even do a reset because those things are necessary. However, once you've had that time to kind of settle down and do some reflecting on ways, new and creative, innovative ways that you can continue to move forward in your life, whether it's personal or professional, then once you get back into the momentum, and you're like, okay, I'm ready, I can do this. You just want to make sure that you stay in that race and keep moving forward. And as we all know, it's not about who finishes the race quickly. It's just a matter of finishing the race. Because to be honest, who are you in competition with? You shouldn't be in competition with anyone else. I believe that maybe you should be your own competition, and I think that's healthy competition, because when you do that, then you're holding yourself accountable and you're actually motivating yourself, and it's causing you to push yourself beyond measures that you didn't even know were there. Pushing yourself beyond boundaries and limitations that you set up in your own mind, and thought, okay, well, I can't do this anymore. I don't feel like doing this anymore. I shouldn't do this anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. Sometimes we can get in that place also. But I want to just encourage you to just stay in the momentum, stay in your lane, stay on your path, stay on that voyage of discovery, and just know that in the end, you win. So today, also, I have a special guest who will be joining us in a few moments. And I'm really excited to have this special guest to come on and join us. He is a gentleman that I met on LinkedIn, and he's doing some really, really great things out here in the world. And his business ventures he's winning. I would definitely say that he is winning. And it seems like every day, for the most part, he posts different inspirational messages, and they're not, I won't say they're your typical inspirational messages. And when I say typical, meaning today's going to be a great day, period. You know, oh, make this the best day of your life, period. You know, or this is going to be the best day of your life, exclamation mark. You know, so he does more than that. He actually gives you food for thought. And, you know, it's like, oh, okay. So let me pull up one of things that he has posted. So this way I can give you exactly what it is, as opposed to, you know, me trying to come up with something. Just read from what he's written. And I know he won't mind. So that's going to be okay. So hold on just one moment, you all, while okay, we're going to share his post from today, actually. And it says, general characteristics associated with an ADD. I'm sorry, no, we don't want to do that. Not that one. Hold on, you guys. Let's see. Yes. This one here, and it was thought-provoking. So he said, you have to bend over, lower yourself in order to push down on another human being that doesn't care to be suppressed. He says, you'll never achieve the greatest heights you can achieve. You can't see, grasp, or become your highest self. It's just impossible to build taller buildings when your knees, back, and arms are ultimately determined to keep you lower to the ground. It's just common sense. And I thought that to be very thought-provoking. And when he joins us, I'm going to ask him to elaborate on that a little more. So this way, you know, we can get his perspective, or get more clarity for those of you who would like more clarity to understand what he meant when he said that, okay? And I think that, I know that for those of you who are watching, and those, you'll be able to, you'll gain some knowledge, you'll gain some information, and it will definitely be some nuggets that you can take on for yourself and be able to use in your everyday life, in whatever you're doing, okay? So again, winning in the midst of change and how to keep going forward. So you can't have someone else to motivate you. You have to be self-motivated, okay? And with self-motivation, that is when you're pushing yourself beyond limits that you have placed on yourself, or that you have allowed someone else to place on you, okay? And again, a lot of times there can be some resistance, there can be some pressure, you know, and things, but depending on how much you want to move forward and what your expectations are in your life, that is what's going to determine your outcome. So if you have the mindset of being a winner, or if you have the mindset of being a loser, or someone who's just mediocre, or just normal and regular, you know, then then you could do that. But you don't want to put limitations on yourself, and you have to self-motivate. So I'm going to stop right there, because I want to introduce this phenomenal guest that we have on the show today. So please help me to welcome Mr. JuJuan Buford. Woo! Woo! Thank you for joining the Success in Motion video webcast on today, and gracing us with your presence. I thank you, thank you, thank you. So Say, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Check for that wonderful introduction.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So I shared a little bit with our audience in regards to who you are. I didn't share with them the name of your business yet because I'm going to leave that to you. But what I did do is I shared with them a post that you shared on LinkedIn a few days ago, the one about you have to bend over, lower yourself in order to push down. So I did read that because I thought that that was very, very good. And I explained to our audience that you will elaborate that even more. So this way, for those who are like, who may not have gotten it, you can explain it to them, okay? So I'm going to give you the floor. Tell us who you are, your business, what you do. This is a phenomenal man. You all definitely want to know him. Okay, go.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Colbach. It's a privilege and honor to be here with you and with your guests. Apologies for the delay. My virus protection blocker thingy was stopping me from, you can tell I said thingy, so you know I'm not a tech person, right?
That's okay.
It was blocking app, so I had to figure out another way to get around it, but I'm glad to be here. And yeah, my professional background is actually an investment advisor and now small business architect. I've worked within the financial service industry about 15, 17 years in a capacity of an insurance agent, investment advisor, bank professional, and basically my teeth working with business owners and entrepreneurs, helping them with the resources to make sure they have the intellectual content that they need to make smart decisions and to basically grow and scale their businesses and make smart decisions in terms of their families, right? Make sure they have a decent place to achieve their goals. So that's where I spent the lion's share of my life professionally. I started a couple of businesses starting back in 2008 and became more of a serial entrepreneur. When the economy took a downturn, I learned the hard way that, yes, you must have more than one stream of income. And that's what I set out to do. And, you know, I try to avoid that title, business coach. Nowadays, you have a lot of people who will watch one YouTube video, read one book, and all of a sudden they're entrepreneur and coaching, right? No, I'm simply an entrepreneur that enjoys business ownership, enjoys entrepreneurship, and I'm very much committed to helping others do the same. I believe in lifting as we climb. Right? So people will oftentimes ask me, particularly in this pandemic, in this environment, what's the best thing that can be done for business owners? And I tell them, make sure households are solvent. Make sure people are healthy. Make sure people are able to pay their bills and they have disposable income. Take care of households. And you know what? Take care of other entrepreneurs. A rising tide lifts all ships, right? And so if communities are healthy, if the small business community is healthy, those of us who are small business owners and scaling and growing will be healthy as well, just by virtue of that simple fact. So that's what I'm about. At the end of the day, I believe entrepreneurship is empowerment. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone can do it. Let me put it this way. Not everyone is ready for it. But we don't need everyone to become an entrepreneur. We just need more of us participating in the game, right? I tell people all the time, if you are sick and tired of last hired and first fired, then become an entrepreneur. You become the employer, right? You don't like the politicians and the elected officials that are responsible for what transpires in your neighborhood or your county or community. Well, you know what? There's two ways to vote. I'm all about the ballot. Go to vote, yes. But you know what? You can also vote with your checkbook. You can pay for the campaigns of the elected officials you believe your community deserves. So that's where this all comes from, is my belief that people are better served when they can take care of their affairs at their kitchen table and not rely upon the government or somebody else. If you can take care of the condition and things that happen at your kitchen table, that means you can have influence and you can help people in your community. If you can help people in your community, you can help people in your county, right? You can spread that influence and be an agency, a change agent in whatever arena that you walk in. So that's kind of like a little bit about me and what motivates and inspires me. That's my why, if you will. I started up JSB Business Solutions Group simply as a vehicle to help me spread the good word about entrepreneurship and help other people, whether you're fledgling, whether you've been in business for 5 years and you have a $20 million evaluation, doesn't matter to me. If you go online on LinkedIn, you can look at my academic chops and see that I'm more than just a nice profile picture, and I'm more than glad to help you out however I can. So that's the abbreviated version of what I do and what I'm about. So, and in terms of that quote in particular, I hear this discussion transpire a lot. And I'll just be transparent. It's kind of hard for me to be otherwise, but particularly in the African American community. And I'm always careful when I say this because, look, ignorance doesn't discriminate. You know what I'm saying? Like, lack of knowledge doesn't discriminate. Bad behavior doesn't discriminate. African Americans, it kind of irks me when I hear people say, well, African Americans have issues. No, we don't. We're people. We have people issues. Now, what I will say is that when we exhibit bad behavior, because there's not enough of us who have made it, when we exhibit certain bad behaviors, it has a greater impact in our community. So let's put it that way, right? But it is an issue, right? This issue of people not wanting to share information with each other. You have this issue of people, as opposed to seeing each other as folks that can complete each other's destiny and journey, they see each other as competitors, right? And sometimes you have the temptation, particularly when you are living in a spirit of scarcity, when you are living in the spirit of a zero-sum game, when you are living in the spirit of believing there's a lack of resources, right? People tend to behave this way. And instead of building taller buildings, they try to cut people down, right, to make themselves look better. And for me, I've always found that behavior problematic, which is why I posted that on LinkedIn, right? Because, number one, to cut somebody down takes zero creativity, right? And if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, what makes entrepreneurs successful is that we see things first. We live on the edges. We are the creatives in our communities, right? And that's how you build a successful business, by being a very good solution provider. So we see the problems before everyone else. We come up with the solutions before everyone else. We grow things. That's what we do. And when you cut people down and you cut down other people's endeavors because you're trying to hold them down, that's not a creative endeavor. You're really not creating anything. You're not really giving back to the community when you do that. That's number one. But number two, if you think about it, if you're trying to hold somebody down, right, if you're trying to push somebody down and they don't want to be pushed down, that means you got to get down on the floor with them, right? You got to be pushing and shoving and holding them down. And so you can't even grasp the blessings that you're struggling for because you can't look up. You can't grasp up. You can't reach upward if you're pushing down. You see what I'm saying? And I wish more people would understand that, right? It does not profit you to tear other people down. Mr. Cole Blackman and I, in some respects, we operate in the same circles. We do a lot of complementary work, but I don't see her as a competitor. I see her as, and business is competition, let's not get it twisted, but I see her as someone that helps complete me. If she's being successful, if she's doing well, that forces me to step up my game and become better at what I'm doing. And quite frankly, if you're really thinking like a business owner, not a self-employed person, you look for individuals with complementary skills. You look for individuals with complementary intellects and talents because you can't do everything. It is better to delegate things that you're not that very good at and walk in your power, as opposed to trying to be a jack of all trades because you want to compete against everyone. You're once again, the only person you're hurting is yourself. So that's what that quote was really all about. And of course, on LinkedIn, you can't expound on it that way, right? But that's it in its totality. So that was my thinking. That's what motivated me when I shared that, Ms. Blackman.
Okay. Yes, and I'm glad. So then that helped me because before you came on, I was talking about competition, being competing, and how you should not be competing with anybody else but yourself. And that's to push yourself to where you need to go so that you are moving forward and not being stagnant, but not to focus on other people. But I like how you said, when you have business, when you're business minded and not solopreneur minded, if you will, then you can accomplish so much more because then you're doing something together as opposed to separate. And when you're separate, your mind, your focus, your mindset is different. It's a lot different, and it can cause you to step on somebody else or to break somebody else down or make them feel inferior because of what you're trying to accomplish for yourself. So I thank you for expounding on that.
Yes, indeed. I mean, talent will win you a lot of games, but at the end of the day, teams win championships, right? Talent will win you a lot of games, but at the end of the day, teams win championships. And you want to recruit your teammates. You want to recruit your friends before you need them. right?
That's right.
I was listening to a boxing trainer a couple of days ago. He said, be careful about the people who you step on, because when you fall, those are the people you're going to be greeting on your way back down, right? And it's just being real, man. We all fall. You know, people get it twisted. We all fall. If you're not aware that that transpires, you'll figure it out real quick, fast, in a hurry when you're an entrepreneur. Even the best of us have our failings. Even the best of us have our pitfalls. Things sometimes trip us up. And you should always maintain a degree of humility, because you can be eating today and on the curb tomorrow. And hopefully the pandemic, but just all kinds of different pandemics happen. Emotional pandemics happen. Financial pandemics happen. Physical pandemics happen. People have strokes, heart attacks, get diagnosed with things, right? Stuff we can't control for. You want to make sure that, at least I believe personally, that you walk in a spirit of humility, and you remember that the person you may be looking down upon, or the person you may be trying to step upon, that could easily be you at any given point in day, right? So I'd rather have more friends than adversaries out there. You're going to create enough adversaries to value your success. Like, haters are going to find you anyway. Don't create any more than you already have.
Exactly. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
So yes. So our topic for today is winning in the midst of change and how to keep moving forward. So you've already pretty much have started to elaborate on that, you know, just with your introduction and what you're doing in your line of work, in your industry. And so I want you to expound on that. You know, what does that mean to you, winning in the midst of change? So as you just mentioned, you know, the current pandemic, but there's so many other pandemics that you just mentioned also. So, but how can you stay, you know, motivated and encouraged in the midst of change? So this way you are winning and not losing. You're winning and not being stagnant. You're winning as opposed to being at a standstill, or, you know, like trying to figure things out, but not in motion.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Man, it's a fascinating question, because there's so many different places you could start, right? And I was trying to think, what could I talk about to keep the audience enthralled and make sure that people walk away with something? And then I sat down my notebook and I said, you know what, let me just talk from experience. Let me just talk from a time when I was at rock bottom, when, you know, I don't know if people are allowed to curse here, but okay, there it is. When I was just at a real sunken place, let's put it that way. And the thing that I would encourage people to always understand and know is that success is an inside job, right? We oftentimes don't see things as they are. We see things as we are, right? That's why you can have 5 people all looking at the same painting and coming up with 5 different conclusions about what that painting meant and what the painter intended to communicate, right? Because we oftentimes don't see things as they are. We see things how we are. And we are what we think, just like we are what we eat, right? And so the first thing I would encourage people to do, and it's usually the last thing that people think about, they want to change their circumstances. But tonight, if we're going to be honest, you got to change you, right? You got to change the things you're thinking about. I read somewhere that human beings have tens of thousands of thoughts. I can't remember the exact statistics. Tens of thousands of thoughts. Let's just say hypothetically 50,000 thoughts over the course of a day. And like 90% of them are negative. Right? And it's not surprising. You pull out your phone, look at your social media feed. Most of the things that people are commenting on are negative, right? They're arguing, they're fighting, they're bickering over athlete this, politician this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You listen to the news. I mean, I don't even listen to local news anymore that much. It seems to me they're trying to scare you to death more than anything else, right? Seriously, it's just constant negative news. I call it CNN, constant negative news, right? So negativity is around us all the time. If you ask most people, how are you doing today? Most people respond, not too well. They'll start telling you their problems, right? The issues they're going through. So knowing that we have this many thoughts per day, and that at the end of the day, most of them are negative, you have to really control your headspace. Because once again, success is an inside job. So, you know, I tell people all the time, you got to pay. It's expensive to be in between my eyeballs, to be in my headspace. The rent is very high here, I have very high goals. I have very high objectives. There's some things I need to accomplish. I have children that need to be fed and sent to school, right? There are things I want to achieve that I haven't achieved. I have not grown into the person I'm supposed to be. So the space between my ears is very, very, very expensive. You're going to pay the full price of admission. So anything I let in my head has to contribute to those things, right? They have to be valuable. And that's what I encourage people to think about. Like, ask yourself, what are the things that you are putting inside yourself first and foremost, right? There's a book out there by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil. And the basic gist of the book, I'm not going to tell it all because I want you to go get it, but the basic gist of the book is an idle mind is a place where the devil plays, right? What is he saying? Negative thoughts, negative things can easily walk into your life when you don't have an agenda. And so the first thing that I encourage individuals to do when you talk about succeeding and thriving, right? Not just surviving. We do that enough. But I mean succeeding and thriving. The first thing you need to do is control your thoughts. And the things you should control the most is the things you wake up in the morning thinking about. And that should be your goals, your affirmations, and your objectives. The things that matter most to you, the things that you want to accomplish. The task or the things that if you did them would give you the biggest payoff, would make the biggest difference in your life, right? And you want to have those things around you all the time. Like I said, all of us can find negativity in less than 0.2 seconds. I mean, we can turn on our phone, and nowadays the phones, they try to tell us what news to look at, right? You notice these phones now, they actually have the news app as soon as you open it up, right? On my phone, just so you know, it's not a game. You know, the first thing on my phone, if you look at it, me turn it off and turn it back on, is my affirmations, right? You probably can't see it. I did that on purpose. I literally put my goals and affirmations on my phone. When I open up my journal or my notebook or my appointment book, that's the first thing I see, my goals and affirmations. I have email reminders that literally just send my affirmations to me, because if I'm having all these negative thoughts, I need something to reset me, right? I need something to get me back focused on the positive and the things that matter most in my life, right? And first and foremost, that's what I would strongly encourage people to do if you really want to thrive in tough situations. Get back focused on the things that matter, because too often, you know, and I'm thinking about this place where I was at years ago, you spend so much time concerned about what other people think, concerned about how other people feel about you, concerned about how you appear to individuals, right? People spend so much time concerning themselves with these fears, this false evidence appearing real. And I was having this conversation with someone earlier today. You know, being a parent, I think about children all the time, right? And I got, you know, two little 2-year-olds running around here, right? And I remember watching them when they took their first steps, right? And think about how babies behave. A baby decides one day, I want those cookies on that counter, right? And the baby doesn't say, well, I don't know if I should stand up because this inevitable gravity is tough. I might look bad if I try to stand up and do a belly plop or a butt plop back on the floor. They say, no, I want the cookies. I'm going to stand up. The baby doesn't do the math in their head. Well, if I walk across this room and fall, someone's going to laugh at me. They're like, no, I want to get across the room and get that hug. I want to get across the room and get that glass of milk. Or I want to get that candy, right? The babies don't think like that. Babies don't say, you know, I think I'm just going to stay in the bed today because I'm feeling some kind of way about how somebody else is treating me or thinking about me. Their memories are like this. They could care less, right? They're all about their agenda, which is to be loved, fed, and get that cookie, right? We can learn a lot from them. It seems like as we get older, we actually become less intelligent sometimes, right? And so that's one of the reasons why you want to keep your objectives close. Look, at the end of the day, the only people you have to answer to is the Creator and your fam, right? And if the person is not paying your bills, if they're not paying the cost of being between your ears, you should not be thinking about them. It's not to say you shouldn't be empathetic. It's not to say you should not care about people. But at the end of the day, you only have one life to live. Everybody else's life is already taken. So live your life. Be comfortable with your goals. Be comfortable with your objectives. And I'm going to be so real with you right now because we spend so much time thinking about, once again, how other people think about us. Look, if jewelry, boats, clothes, taking expensive vacations, taking out your phone, taking steak and eggy foodie pics, if that's the thing that gets you going, then let that be your thing, right? I'm just being real. If you're one of those individuals, you get motivated by helping people. You love to help people. You're motivated by that. That gives you energy. Then let that be your thing. If you're one of those people that's motivated by intellect and learning and being engaged and being involved in new things. I mean, you just can't sit still. That's most entrepreneurs I know, by the way, right? You just got to be involved in something all the time, doing something. Then let that be a thing. Don't be afraid to double down on who you are, because, man, it's tough giving your life energies to things that you're really not passionate about. It's tough. Right? That's why most heart attacks happen Monday morning, because people are waking up and they're committing their bodies and their lives to things and places of work that they're really not committed to in their spirit, right? And so that's why they happen, right? So I'm going to go back to this again. Number one, get really clear about the things that matter most to you. Get really clear about your goals and objectives. Get really clear about what you want to accomplish 2 years, 5 years from now. Because when you're in a sunken place, you need to focus on the things that give you energy and not the things that tear you down, right? So that's one of the first things I would encourage people to do. Also, look, when you have goals and objectives, when you're going after something bigger, you behave differently, right? The comparison would be like if you're getting ready to run a marathon and the goal is to run a marathon a certain amount of time. There's certain food you don't eat anymore. You start sleeping better because you need to, right, in preparation for it. You don't drink. You don't consume alcohol. You don't do certain things because you need your body to be in tip-top shape to get there. Well, it's the same thing like any goal in life. If you're setting big, hairy, audacious goals, those goals should shape you. They should change you. They should motivate you. So you're at a point where you don't have time to entertain negativity. You don't have time to entertain activities and things that don't contribute to it, right? And once again, these big, hairy, audacious goals can be business goals. They can be goals in terms of being a better spouse or a better parent. It can be goals about being a better professional. But set big, hairy, audacious goals. Your goals should be so big, they should be so ignorant that some people look at you and they look at you like, are you crazy? But they also want to stay close to you so they can figure out if you get there, they want to be a part of it, right? That's how big your goals should be. And that's how you maintain an air of positivity and enthusiasm, even in tough times like this, right? Once again, it's an inside job. For the entrepreneurs that are listening, people do not want to do business with folks when they feel like, I heard Ms. Nicole Blackman saying the word loser, right? There's winners and there's losers. People like to do business with winners. And people don't want to do business with folks who are not passionate about their goals, their objectives, where they're going and what they're doing, right? People want to do business with winners. My continental African clients, my Nigerian clients, they always tell me, Mr. Buford, you got to be fat. You got to be fat, Mr. Buford, for us to do business. You got to be fat, right? And what are they saying? You got to be successful, right? Over there, you're successful when you're fat. That means you're eating good, right? Now, I'm not advocating go out and eat a million burgers, some Burger King, but what I'm saying is be fat in your attitude, be fat in your spirit. Be fat about the things that you're doing. That's 99% of it. Trust me, if you get on the phone and call 100 random people and you yell peanut butter with unbridled enthusiasm, a couple of them are going to say, I want some. Just because you're enthusiastic about the peanut butter, right? So that's something I would encourage people to do. You know, the other thing that I would encourage you to do, and once again, this goes back to being careful about what you let in between your ears, right? I'm not saying diss people. I'm saying sometimes you have to distance yourself from people, right? If you have people who are negative, if you have people who are not supportive of you, if you have people where every time you talk to them, they're complaining about something and they're talking about something not going right, if they're always poking and prodding and investigating and tearing things down, you got to get away from that. You got to get away from that. You want to be around people who aren't talking about the problems, but who are talking about the solutions. You want to be around people who are not talking about what's going terrible in their life. You want to talk to people who are talking about things that are going good in their life. You want to talk to people who have your solutions, not your problems, right? And, you know, you just got to be – I grew up West Side Detroit, Highland Park. That's where I spent my what you call your developmental years, so to speak, right? And I love the brothers and sisters that I grew up with. I do. But I understood at some point that if I kept doing the things they were doing, I wasn't going to get to the goals that I have. And I would never diss them because they came through for me, given the neighborhoods I grew up in at times where I'm glad they were there. But they couldn't make the journey with me. And, you know, I know Ms. Nicole Blackman, so I know her audience is a prayerful audience. I know there are some prayerful people in this audience because she's a person of faith, right? And a lot of times we pray for things. We ask for things. We ask God to give us certain things. And sometimes he wants us to have the blessings he's promised to us. He wants us to walk in through the door, but sometimes we're trying to go through the door with people and attitudes that it ain't meant for, right? So that's what I mean by that. Get around people who are positive, who are moving forward, who are advocating, who are moving in the right direction. Look, I'm not knocking people for the music or the social media or whatever it is you enjoy listening to. But let me tell you, I'll admit it. When I was younger in my teenage years, I listened to Too Short. That is the most nihilistic, ignorant stuff that can come out of your mouth, out of a person's mouth. Well, it came out of his mouth on that music, right? But I was listening to it, nodding my head to it. But let me tell you, the moment my daughter was born, it all changed. I stopped listening to Too Short. I stopped watching certain television shows. Matter of fact, I couldn't even tolerate TV anymore once my first daughter was born. I mean, I just started seeing the world completely and utterly different, right? Because now I have this baby girl that someday is going to grow into a teenager, that someday is going to grow into a woman. And that really changed my approach to how I look at women, how I engage women, how I think about women, the whole nine. I mean, it all changed, right? Be careful of the music, be careful of the content, be careful of all those things that you're taking in, because those things can be dream killers, right? And that's the point I'm trying to make. I'll leave you one more example. One of my favorite shows was The Wire. I loved The Wire. That was like my favorite of all time, right? And I remember, I would occasionally, because I worked so much, right? When you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you burn the midnight oil. And there were many a day where I would work until 11 p.m. at night, like literally 5 o'clock to 11. It was, I was about that life, right? And the only time I had time to watch television was when I was done working. So I would watch The Wire. And I loved The Wire. It was the most entertaining show to me in the world. It was fascinating. And then I would go to sleep. And then I noticed I'd wake up the following morning and I'd be aggressive for no reason. Like I'd just be angry, I'd be on 10 about all the wrong things. And it took me a week to realize, wait a minute, I've stopped looking at my objectives and goals. I'm watching The Wire. And this is what I'm depositing into my skull before I go to sleep at night. So the last thing I'm thinking about, my brain's ideating on it all night long. And, of course, you wake up acting like, that's what's happening when you put things in you that ain't supposed to be there, right? So pour positivity into your life. Listen to podcasts, right? I'm an entrepreneur, so I listen to podcasts about entrepreneurship all day long. I love listening to other people's ideals. I love listening to other people's success stories. I draw energy from that, but I also have understood, being taught by my business mentors, when someone's doing something right, when someone's winning, you don't inspect the roots. You figure out how to pick the fruit, right? Figure out what they're doing, right? Instead of trying to dissect and see if they're doing wrong. So when I hear someone's doing some successful, I want to know what they're doing. There's some success principles working. There are some things they're doing that I'm not aware of, right? So do that for yourself. Read certain books. Read certain podcasts. Spend less time on social media. Spend less time listening to the radio. Spend less time watching television. Spend less time gossiping and talking about other people. My educators all my life, they always taught me, small people talk about people, good problems talk about problems, and great minds talk about solutions, right? Spend most of your time dealing with the top two, right? And it'll change your life. It'll inoculate you. It'll protect you from the negativity that can impact you and bring you down, right? The other thing that I would encourage people to do is look, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, find a workout partner. Find mentors. Find people that don't allow you to wallow and take your excuses, right? When you're an entrepreneur, there's no room for excuses. You either win or you lose. You either achieved it or you didn't, right? You can't make excuses and be successful at the same time. Now, personally, I think that's a life principle, but that's certainly apropos for those of you who are entrepreneurs, right? Get around that mentor, get around that person that's not going to tell you everything that you want to hear, but the things that you need to hear. Be willing to be challenged. I remember I visited with a friend a couple years ago, and look, I think relatively speaking, I'm one of the hardest workers you'll ever come across. Like, I enjoy the process. I enjoy the game. So as a result, I know I'll stay up longer than most people. I'll do things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do in terms of expenditure, energy, and time, because that's what they say, right? Successful people do the things that unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. So I love the game because I know by loving the process of the game, that automatically puts me ahead of my quote-unquote competition, right? But I remember I took a trip down south, North Carolina, and I stayed with another friend of mine who was a college roommate of mine. And, I thought I was a hard worker. I thought I was crushing. I thought I was doing the thing. And while I'm visiting there at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, he's on his computer doing his thing. And then the following night, it was the same thing. And the following night, it was the same thing. I was like, what is going on? And I walked in there. This guy's a coder. He's good with software and technology. And he was literally building some type of platform for his side business in addition to his main gig at work. And that was an eye-opener for me because I couldn't be transparent with you. I usually pass out at 11. He's still going strong till 3 a.m., right? And look, I'm not recommending this to everyone, but I'm saying it opened my eyes, right, to the fact that I needed to step up my game. Some of us are literally, what we do is we pluck from the pillows, we get the pillows ready at 8 o'clock, and we in bed by 11, right? Seriously, and let's not get it twisted too. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pamper yourself. I'm not saying you shouldn't live a healthy lifestyle. That's not what I'm saying. But be careful of people who tell you, particularly when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, that you're not going to have to burn the midnight oil. Be careful of those people. Because I'm here to tell you, there's no such thing as lifestyle balance in the beginning. It's just priorities. What are your priorities? There's no such thing as time management. You cannot manage time. Time does not care about its relationship with you. You can't bargain with time. You can't fight with time. You can't befriend time. Time is indifferent. So there's no such thing as time management. It's just priority management, right? And be careful of those people because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you, people who are preaching this self-care, self-help, especially when you start your business and find that balance, 9 times out of 10, they're a W-2 politicking as a 1099. They've never started up a business before, just being real, or they're a scoundrel trying to part you with their money. They want you to participate in their self-help program, right? In the meantime, your business is plummeting. Anyway, that's a different story. But you get the point, right? If you can't tell, I'm going in like this, I'm passionate about this, and this is what when you're passionate, when you're on fire about the work that you're doing, and you're passionate about the mission that you're involved in, and you're letting in these positive things into your life all the time, you don't have time for much else, right? I was taught by another mentor of mine that the mind is kind of like a fishbowl. You have the cerebrum, which is where your emotions, it controls your breathing, everything else, the oldest part of the brain, right? And you have your cerebellum, which is the active part of your brain. It's the newest part of your brain. This part of your brain is looking at the environment around you, right? And it's filtering things. And you got to go through that part of the brain first to get to the cerebrum, right? And when the cerebellum is filtering the things that it wants to eventually hold on to, right? Your mind works like the cerebellum's like a fishbowl, though. It can only hold so much, right? It can only contain so much. And I want you to think about like a fishbowl and the fact that a fishbowl has a definite amount of space inside of it. You can only put so many marbles in that fishbowl, right? And let's say you have blue marbles, which is the negative stuff, the things that give you the blues. And let's say you have red marbles. And the red marbles are the things that get you excited. The red marbles are the things that you're passionate about. The red marbles are the things that get you on 10, right? The things that get you amped. You get excited when you do it. Those are the red marbles, right? And what I'm saying to you indirectly is you're going to be putting so many red marbles in that fishbowl, so many red marbles in your brain that there's no room for the blues, right? Look, what I'm here to tell you is that as an investment advisor, as a banker, I walk in and out of people's lives about 20 households a week. That's about how many households I walk in and out of. And I did that for over a decade. So I want you to think about how many lives I've walked into, how many deaths I've sat across from, right? And I can tell you, most entrepreneurs can't spell the word doorknob. They're not as talented as you think they are. They're not as gifted intellectually as you think they are. They just have a couple simple habits. They have a couple simple rules that they all live and abide by. It's the simple things that get you ahead. And that's the exciting thing about being an entrepreneur. But you know what? That's the exciting thing about being human. You don't have to be some super spectacular athlete, entertainer, have some particular special skill, this, that, and the other. If you're willing just to commit to a couple simple things, you can change your life overnight. If you can change your thinking, and if you can change the way you perceive people and the things around you, you can change your life. This brain is so powerful, right? It's so powerful. And it's like the brain is the hardware, and what you put in it is the software. And I want you to think about that when it comes to persevering through tough times. What's the software? What are you downloading into the hardware of your body, right? Just like this computer. I'm sitting in front of a computer's hardware here, but I had to download a software program, this program I'm utilizing now, and get past the virus protection to make it work and all that fun stuff, right? Your brain works the exact same way. What are you downloading, right? Most of us have what I call governors on our brain. You know, like a governor on a car that controls the speed. The car can really go 200 miles per hour because the engine would allow it to do that if it didn't have the governor keeping it at 130. Most of us have self-imposed governors on our brain. The negativity, the wrong people around us, the wrong stuff that we're consuming, those are all governors on the ability to stay positive and to achieve. And so those are some of the things I really encourage people to dive into. You know, read 10 pages of a good book a day. You don't need to read 30 pages. You don't need to read 100 pages. Think about it like this. 10 pages of a good book a day, whether you do it in the morning or night. At the end of a month, that's 300 pages. At the end of a year, that's about 15 books. Most books are about 300 pages. Maybe 250, really. Most books are about 250 nowadays, right? And think about it. If you read 12 to 15 books on becoming a good basket weaver, is it fair to say that at the end of the year you'll probably be pretty informed and knowledgeable about basket weaving, right? If you read 10 to 15 pages of a good book about financial solvency and independence, you'll probably be pretty knowledgeable about that. If you read 10 to 15 pages of a good book about being a good leader or being a good parent or being a good professional, whatever trade you're in, look, with competency comes increased confidence, right? I tell people building confidence is like snowflakes turn into snowballs. You start doing little things, and you get good at those little things, and you start tackling slightly bigger things and slightly bigger things. As you build confidence, you start tackling the larger things, right? Building your knowledge, and which increases your sense of self-worth and can-do, also helps protect you from the negativity and allows you to inoculate yourself from the negativity that's out there. Because at the end of the day, I guess the conversation I'm having with people is this: don't allow yourself to get to that sunken place in the first place, right? That's one of the first things you can do. Don't even allow yourself to get there. And these are some of the things that you can do, simple things, right, that you can do on a regular basis so you don't even get there, so you don't get to a place of negativity, feeling helpless, feeling hopeless, and feeling like the world is going to a bad place in a handbasket, right? And so, you know, those are the things that I think about when I've been conversing with entrepreneurs and conversing with my peers, particularly when it comes to navigating this pandemic, right? And what I found is that the individuals, because let's be clear about this too, because I talk to people and they'll talk about how the world is just terrible and how things are so bad. And I'll give you the advice I've given to people from the time I started as an investment advisor almost 20 years ago. Money does not disappear; it changes hands. So, look, yeah, there are people who are not doing too well right now, but trust me, there are people who are doing very, very, very well right now. I have clients that were restaurant owners that I've known for years who went out of business. On the other hand, I have another set of clients who are restaurant owners. They're thriving more now than before the pandemic, right? And if you pay attention to what a lot of these entrepreneurs have in common, and I think people, even if you're not an entrepreneur, you can borrow from this, right? They're doing a lot of these things. They have masterminds with other restaurant owners and other professionals who are doing well, and they rub off on each other. You know, they say iron sharpens iron. That's a lie. Sharp iron sharpens iron. You start hanging around a bunch of dull knives, they'll dull you too, right? And so you find out that they're talking to individuals who are sharp, who are on the ball, who are positive, and who are doing things. You ask them how you spending your time. If they're not working, they're consuming something positive, right? They're consuming something positive about their trade or what they do, or they're just consuming positive content, period, right? They're putting in so many red marbles, there's no room for the blue, right? They're very careful about who they allow into their space. They don't diss people, but they distance themselves from people, right? I can go on and on about that alone. I can go on and on. Because I talk to so many entrepreneurs, and I talk to so many people, period. They're not living their best lives because they're so They're so distracted and so consumed about what the next door neighbors are going to think or what a family member is going to think and this, that, and other. You know, do you know, and, you know, I know Ms. Blackman can speak to this even more so than I can. Do you know that if you were to die and have a funeral, do you know if it rains, that will actually decrease by over 80% the people who will even come to your funeral in the first place if it rains? Now, you done lived on this earth, poured into people's lives, 20, 30, 40 years. You done educated people, helped people, and 80% of the people who you've touched will not show up because it rains. Really, how much should you really be caring about people's opinions when they won't even show up to your funeral? You know what I'm saying? And don't let it be storming or snow. Oh, don't forget about it, right? So I just want people to think about this, right? Think about these things. You know, there's this temptation to isolate when you're in a bad place. You isolate, right? And look, and for the entrepreneurs who are listening in, it's tough because as an entrepreneur, we purposely isolate. You have to. You got to be alone with your thoughts. You got to be alone with that internal compass, right? So if you're a high achiever, high achievers do tend to spend periods of time alone so they can get in touch with themselves, so they can hear their inner voice. But that also could be a detriment to you if you're isolating and you're a sunken place. So, you know, allow people. Reach out to that, once again, reach out to that mentor, reach out to that positive person, reach out to people who give you energy. I'm just thinking about all the different tactics and strategies I know I've employed myself, and that I've coached other people to employ, and that I encourage people to employ when they're having these challenges, right? But if you think about these things and you put them all together, are you better able to pivot when you're enthusiastic and confident about what you're doing, and particularly when you're learning? Because if you're learning, that means you're seeing things first. Yes, you're able to pivot. When negativity comes, you get knocked in your butt for whatever reason. If you're in a positive place, you recover faster. You feel better about your circumstances, right? You're more willing to get up and do the work. If you're taking aim at big, hairy, audacious goals, those goals won't allow you to exhibit certain behaviors, right? If you're trying to be the best father on earth, you don't have time to go to the club. You don't have time to entertain young men things, right? The things that can distract you and actually take away from your ability to be a provider and to be a good example. You don't have time for those things, right? If you're occupied with very important, purposeful matters, you just don't have time. And, or to be more accurate, your priorities will not allow you to spend your time on certain things, right? And, you know, hopefully, I don't expect that everything I shared is going to land evenly with everyone, right? What I will say to you is eat the fruit and spit out the seeds, right? The things that are applicable for you and the things that are for you, they're for you. The things that are not, it's okay, spit out the seed, right? But these are the things that I know that have served me as an entrepreneur and as a father and as a mentor to others, and as someone that really believes in the mission of lifting as I climb, right? And these are the things that I've observed in other entrepreneurs' lives I've walked in who have achieved great success 10, 20, and 100 times beyond what I've achieved, and still observe these same behaviors and these same ways of thinking and doing things, right? And these are the things that I've observed, and the success stories that have come for it have convinced me that these things work. And so hopefully, even if you apply one thing that I shared tonight, right? I tell people, if you just get 1% better every single week, at the end of the year, you're 52% better. You're able to achieve 52% more than you started with. Just 1% is enough. Just a little 1%, right? Just one thing that I recommend. If you just did it week after week, and you just got better at it every single week, you'd be 52% better than where you're at now. Imagine what the person that's 52% better than the person you are now can accomplish. The person's 52% healthier, 52% more active, 52% more acute intellectually, 52% stronger psychologically and spiritually. Imagine what you could accomplish, right? And I guess that's the one thing I'll end on, because if you can't tell, I'm looking at a grocery list, and I got like 20 other items, right? But I know we're on borrowed time here. But something that a gentleman whom I respect taught me years ago, he said, you know, people overestimate what they can get done in the short term and underestimate what can get done in the long term, right? Overestimate what can get done in the short term and underestimate what can be done over the long term. Once again, just commit to a couple simple, easy things. Do those things first. And then once you begin to do those things, you'll be able to tackle the bigger issues and challenges in your life. And the bigger the challenges you tackle, the more rewarding and fruitful your life will go. Don't think about what you have to go through. Think about what you need to grow through. Don't think about how far you need to go. Think about how far you need to grow. And it's a much more exciting and interesting way to live your life, and it keeps you motivated and focused on the right things. So I am done. I didn't expect to come on the line and preach. I don't know, this stuff just got up in me when this, I wasn't thinking like this before I received that email from Nicole, and I certainly wasn't thinking about that before our 3 o'clock conversation. And I was like, what can I say? What can I do? And I was like, let me just be authentically me and just give it to you the way it is. So, it was a privilege and honor, Ms. Blackman. And I went on like, I looked at the clock, I just been going. So I'm assuming you might have Q&A and want me to elaborate on something. I apologize. But, once I hit the go button, I go.
Yes, no, you did very, very well, and I appreciate you. I enjoyed everything that you said. It was extremely helpful. It's definitely useful. Not only did you give us strategies, but you also gave us some nuggets and some treasures for us to hold on to. And, of course, definitely I was taking some notes. I like what you said. You talked about the tens of thousands of negative thoughts that we have to filter through every day, and that's just at the start when we first wake up, and how to, get our minds and our thoughts in order. That's the first thing. I also like how you have your affirmations to come up on your phone, your calendar, and these different places that you use daily, because that keeps it at the forefront of your mind. So it's like, okay, once you get off into doing one thing, it'll pop up, and it's just like, okay, now I'm back on, on my mission to accomplish whatever it is, and I like that. I think that's very, very helpful. I also like, I love how you said the big, hairy, audacious goal. I started thinking about Bigfoot. I'm like, dang, he's big, hairy, and audacious. Like, oh my gosh, that's so big, But those are things that are actually attainable, once you get focused and you work towards it. And as you just stated, before, we overestimate our short-term goals, but underestimate our long-term goals. And it's because we're thinking that, okay, yeah, well, the long-term goals are something that's long-term. So I may be able to get to it, maybe not, But these short-term goals, it's like, okay, yeah, but it's the prioritizing and what does matter to you, and breaking things down. And I'll say, for lack of a better term, bite-sized pieces, as opposed to trying to eat the whole elephant at one time, as they say, So, and then one last thing too, the book that you mentioned. So I just want to put this disclaimer out there. I know Napoleon Hill is no longer with us, and I don't own any rights. I'm not getting any royalties from promoting the book that Mr. Buford shared with us. But the name of the book is, again,
Outwitting the Devil.
Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And I believe that would be a very good book for, for those of you who are watching to read, because it's literally going to change your mindset, and, you gave so much great information. I thank you so very much for joining us on another segment of Success in Motion. But before we go, I know we have individuals who would be very much interested in either hearing you speak or calling you for some consultations and even to be able to find out what it is that you're offering to help them to be better professionals and in their personal endeavors. So can you please share with our audience how they can contact you?
Yeah, so I have a blog, which is Catch JS Buford, so CATCHJS, B as in bank, UFORD as in David. So it's literally catchjsbuford.com. And that blog has a lot of content and information on there. So if you really want to see if I'm more than just, like I said, a profile, right? You want to see if I have the academic chops and experience to back up what I'm talking about, you can go to that blog. My website is thebufordco.com, so THEBUFORDCO.com. So that's my website. You can find me there as well. As you indicated before, all my contact information is splashed across LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, just look up JuJuan Buford, and my email is there, my phone number is there. It's all there and available for you as well. And once again, it gives you a chance to look at my resume and see exactly where I'm coming from and what I've accomplished and who I've helped. I very rarely do this, but I'll do this on this show. My phone number is 248-560-7564, 248-560-7564. So I tell people, particularly for my West Coast folks, call. If I don't pick up, I will certainly respond the following business day, because I know what happens, right? It's 9 o'clock there, something pops up in your mind, you want to call me at 12. I don't knock it. I'm about this life. This is not a part-time hustle. This is not something I do on the side. I don't do it because I think it's sexy and it's cool. I've been doing entrepreneurship back when it wasn't sexy, right? 20 years ago, if you said I'm an entrepreneur, people said, boy, you unemployed, right? No, I've been doing this, right? I've been doing this for 20 years, right? So I don't get upset when people call. Just know that I may not pick up past 11, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I will get back with you. So those are the best ways to get in contact with me. Those are the best avenues to kind of get a good idea in terms of the nature of work that I do and how I help people start up businesses and make sure they have the tools and resources to build their businesses.
Amen. Very good. Very good. Yay! This is awesome. So you all, I thank each and every one of you for joining our Success in Motion session on today. We will be back in motion in 2 weeks. So our webcasts are now every 2 weeks as opposed to every week. On Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. I post these on YouTube, and YouTube and not other social media sites currently at the moment because I'm not on them. Anyway, but you can find these videos and other content on social media. You can look them up by Nicole Blackman or Strategic Image Consulting. Actually, you might want to go there because that's where all the Success in Motion and the business videos are, okay, as opposed to my personal YouTube channel. Anyway, so you all, I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks. God bless you and have a wonderful evening. Till next time.